the onboarding, the learning curve doesn't require almost no time. You install Meteor.js, install npm packages, just launch it and it works. You don't worry about the database, any credentials. At the end of the day, you can already start discussing tomorrow's real tasks from the Jira.
Hello, I'm Gabs, developer advocate here at Meteor, and today we'll talk to Dmitry, creator of one of the most popular Meteor libraries, Meteor Files. Used by thousands of Meteor developers, Meteor Files is a library that helps you handle everything related to downloads and uploads in your project. And working with this library taught a lot of stuff to Dmitry, so much that he decided to build a product, also called Meteor Files, that gives you superpowers when it comes to download and upload files. So let's dive into it. Let's talk to Dmitry.
Hello, my name is Dmitry. I'm CTO and founder of Willow Group. One of our products is Meteor File as a product, and one of our open source packages we maintain for almost 10 years now is the Meteor Files package for the Meteor to upload and manage files within your Meteor project.
When and how did you get started with Meteor.js in the first place?
We started with the Meteor.js when it was pre-stable version. It was 0.8 or 9. So early days. The Node.js around that time just came out into the stable version. And that back then, it was not a lot of options. One of the modern framework was Angular, which was well known at that moment. We've been looking for something new, for a new project. We've been starting internally in the company where I was working back then. And our search fell on Meteor.js. We compared it to the mean, which was popular back then as well. And Meteor.js had a lot of more points from our end. So we kind of adopted it and started investing into its ecosystem and community as well.
About Meteor Files, can you explain to us a little bit more like what it does and like what is the maybe key differentiator for Meteor Files?
So Meteor Files as a product right now is similar to the Dropbox. You can upload files, you can store them there, you can share, you can download them. The key feature is you can resume your download at any time later, no matter what happens. You close your computer, you decided to interrupt the upload, your internet connection got broken, your browser crashed, the tab got closed, whatever happened, you can continue upload without losing any progress, even from another device. So if you start uploading from the USB stick and you need to go, you pull out the USB stick, you run, you get to another location, another computer, and you just continue to do what you've been doing, the uploading the large file you probably was working on. So we, from the initial point, we look at this as a business tool in the first place, where people move around a lot, need to upload and share large files. And as of proof of the concept, we have it as it is right now, similar to the Dropbox, as already mentioned.
This is Meteor Files, the product, right? Which
Correct.
is, how old is it? For how long have you been building it?
It's almost half of the year, so it's a really young project. We spin it off with the Product Hunt launch, took 12th place. Isn't great, isn't bad neither. So we got some traction, some attention from the media. We're slowly gaining our traction with the first user base. Right now we're working on the next set of the features, which are focused around the teamwork and business, similar to the WeTransfer. Again, since we know the pain points in this niche, we know how to address them. And the first stage for us will be to suit the developers to bring the ease of integration, so you can integrate file uploads and downloads with a couple of lines of code.
To clarify to the audience, we are talking about two different things, right? So we have the product Meteor Files and the library Meteor Files. So let's talk now about the library. How did it start, and what motivated you to create the library?
When we started using Meteor.js, there was already a package, actually a set of packages dedicated to the file upload and management called file collection, something like that, CFS. Then they were quickly deprecated just right after we started using the Meteor, and they needed a replacement. We took a look on their API, and since it was already adopted, we took the best from it, which helped and eased the curve to migrate to our package from the deprecated one. And since then, we've been doing this, helping the community to upload and manage their files in the Meteor.js project.
How long is the lib? When did you guys create it?
The first release was back in 2015, so yeah, 9 years old.
It only deals with upload, only.
No. It is also manage the download, manage the security for the files, the access control. Then it is a fully functional intermediate middleware to control upload and download as well.
And if I remember correctly, you can choose between HTTP or DDP to upload the files, right? And you also support different providers.
By default, as part of the library, you can switch between HTTP and DDP, different protocols in different situations. DDP can be much better solution if you work with the small files. If this is the app, the mobile app, Cordova, DDP for this case is the way better. In other cases, if it's mobile, just with that app, HTTP of course is better. And then we have different adapters for Google Drive, Dropbox, Amazon S3 of course, and many other. But this isn't part of the core. It exists as a docs. It's easy to go there, copy paste. So it's under the full control of the developer. They can take a look on the other integrations and get inspiration from that to implement any other third-party storage, or implement simply copy-paste one of the existing documentation.
By default, does it upload to the database?
By default, it is just a local storage of your server. Then originally, I think we packaged it with a GridFS adapter. Then we moved it to the documentation as well because it's simple. So GridFS S3, of course, in the first place, the most used at the moment, and we maintain its documentation refresh it more often. The others are less maintained, and most of them done by community. So don't get surprised if you see something outdated there.
I don't know if this next question makes sense now. Is it compatible with frameworks? Do you think it makes sense?
Again, it is compatible with everything. It's just a middleware. You can use some of the helpers which comes for the Blaze to enhance your development experience with the Blaze. Beside that, just JavaScript. You work with it as with a collection. It has the same interface as a mini Mongo in the client and as a normal Mongo in the server. By the fact, it just mimics the API, of course. Behind the scenes, it does something different, very much different things. So to upload file, for example, on the client, you invoke insert method on the client and upload begins. On the backend is just again the middleware. We have a HTTP listener which awaits for the files. We have also the DDP method, the Meteor method, which awaits for the file chunks as well if we use DDP. And there's a couple of additional Meteor methods to initiate the file upload, so user can resume it later, or to stop file upload, for example, or to remove file as well. You use similar API to MongoDB. You just find the file and you call the remove. You can go to the lower level. You can call unlink, for example, to remove the file but keep the record. So there's various options with already the API, which developers are already familiar with. Let's put it this way.
So Dmitry, by what you're saying, Meteor Files is compatible with all front-end frameworks like React, Vue, Blaze, whatever, because it doesn't depend on that, right? It's like more on the back-end side where you're going to configure things, and depending on what you're doing, you're going to call an API or something like that. And it doesn't depend. It's compatible with basically everything, right?
So how has been the work to maintain it for so long? And is it already compatible to Meteor 3?
Answering the first part, it's been fun road. I love open source. It's not the only package we maintain and the support. We have around 40, maybe more packages. I don't count them. For Meteor and with the NPM, I think it's like 45 or 50. So it is always fun road to run the open source package. Again, because of the Meteor community back then, 10 years ago, it was a joy to create new packages because everyone was active, giving feedback, trying your packages, you've been trying other packages, giving feedback, contribute to other code base. So it was early days of the open source were beautiful. A little later, after the package became more stable and Meteor became less popular, let's this way, less hype, there was of course less of the actions, less of the tickets, but it is just different phase of the life of any package or any project. So far, for example, before when things got active before the Meteor 3.0 release, I get a lot of actions from the active developers who using my packages. Everyone started asking for a release candidate, beta, alpha versions to make them compatible. Answering your second part of the question, yes, we maintain the active release candidate version, which is a pre-release in as soon, I think, as Meteor will be out in a couple of weeks. We'll be able to push a stable version, of course, with the help of the active community.
Cool. So you guys have been maintaining Meteor Files, the lib, for around 8 years, and Meteor Files, the product, how it was created, and how did you realize that you had something that you could turn into a product?
So we've been working on this open source product. We learned a lot about how Meteor and how files can get uploaded and downloaded through the web, through the different apps, browsers, and learned a lot of teeny tiny things which help us to create a better, as we see it, a better product, a better file sharing service. We learned how to manage huge files while I was working with the movie production industry. We've seen their struggles about uploads and firsthand as well. Know their demands about the file size, speed, and redundancy to the upload process and download process. And the important thing to mention, we have technology not only about to upload the file and continue to uploading later. Same way applies to the download. So whenever you start the download, of course you can't switch the device because it's stored on the device, the already downloaded part of the file. But if something went wrong, your browser went crazy, you can continue downloading from the same place where you left off. So as I mentioned before, we know the pain points of the industries who exchange a lot of files, and especially large files. And we know some key points about the file uploads and downloads. So we apply them, we merge those two things together. This is how our product was born.
As you were saying, like people that work with video producing and this large video and audio files are probably one of the main customers you're looking for. Who else?
Anyone who lives in areas with a challenging internet or power connection in the first place. Then again, industries and employees who needs to travel to those remote locations for work. Most of them, of course, or at least what I've been seeing in firsthand, it's a filming industry. They travel a lot. They produce a lot of the content. The raw files, they're crazy heavy. Everyone wants to, raw files supposed to be the HDR, and then the size of the files goes out of the space. Everyone, by the end of the working day, needs to send those files to the post-production offices, and it is a real pain.
Talking about your company, the Value Group, you provide custom software development and this kind of services. You have a few products like Meteor Files that you recently launched. What do you say that are the biggest challenges growing as a company from the tech perspective?
I think the making a right choice in technology and sticking to this choice through the years. I think we did the right choice with the Meteor, although it's not as popular as we want it to be. But I see the pros, which was back then, and they still remain here. So similar to, as I said, what applies to the company, they stick to their choice. Meteor as an idea made a choice to build something stable for rapid development And it is the same to this day with the reactive data, of course, updates, which was unique back then.
I just want to say that that's something that I really care about, like to have a stable product, because we know that technology changes a lot. And it's kind of funny as well, because some things that it was like very fancy back then when Meteor was launched, like RPC, that is basically our Meteor methods. They are now kind of fancy again after a few years. People are trying again to create isomorphic code. So there are a lot of things that even when it was created by the Meteor team, it lost popularity during their years, but it is all a cycle, and a few things are coming back now. And we are still here with the same principles, with the same concepts. And of course, I think after Meteor 3, we want to evolve, but keeping the same concepts, keeping the same principles, because I think it's also nice to see people that work with Meteor a few years or many years back. If they try it again, they'll see, I still know how to use Meteor, because it's still there, like all the things that I learned before, they're still there. So I like that way, and of course want to evolve, but also be stable. And like we care about the developers and also about our customers, and we know that a technology that changes too much, too fast, that's not good for companies. Maybe it's funny for developers to play with it, but for companies like doing really serious business, it's important to be stable as well.
Yeah, to add on top of it, why I think the Meteor was the right choice is because through all those years, the onboarding, I don't know how for other software development companies, I still think the onboarding is very resource demanding, right? Resource demanding task for any team. When they have someone new, they need to get them into the working state as soon as possible. Before they get into the working state, they just basically, wasting money of the company because they already getting salary from the day zero, but not working from the day zero. So I onboarded a lot of developers for all those years. And every time I'm just like, first I'm saying, we work with the Meteor.js. And sometimes, people react like, oh, I'm not going to learn a new thing or something like that. And you like, stop. Do you know HTML? He's like, yeah. Do you know the mustache syntax? He's like, yeah. Then, okay, you know Blaze already. Then the next thing, do you know pure JavaScript? Yeah, I know. Have you worked with the jQuery? Of course, everyone worked with the jQuery. Here you go. You know the Blaze from the controller side, and so on. The Node.js, Meteor, backend part of the Meteor. You just need to learn read a couple of times about publication, subscriptions, methods. That's it. You know the Meteor. The onboarding, the learning curve doesn't require almost no time, as long as a person knows what you've been working on. Because let's face it, most of the projects are not Blaze, they are React. You can use React or anything else you want, Vue or Svelte. With the Meteor, it works just perfectly. It is a build tool in the first place. Even if we've been using the Blaze and something within other build tool, it will be a pain, and we won't be using it because Meteor solves that first day at the work. You come, you install the Meteor.js, you just started, that's it. You install Meteor.js, install NPM packages, you just launch it and it works. You don't worry about the database, any credentials. Credentials already comes with your settings, with your dev settings file in the repo, right? So you onboarded the person in a couple of hours, answered all the questions, pointed them to the 3 files at the Meteor.js documentation website. And by the end of the day, you can already start discussing tomorrow's real tasks from the Jira. Let's put it this way.
My next question was gonna be, in your opinion, what could be the best thing about working with Meteor nowadays? But I guess you just said, basically, right? So stability, learning curve, ease of use, what else?
Yeah, on basically I think onboarding is the strong part. If you have an ongoing project, you have a team, not alone, you can introduce a new person and get them ready really, really quickly.
Yeah, the setup of the project as well. Like I was showing to Gabs how to run one internal project yesterday, and it was supposed to be like just a few minutes. We had an issue with a library that was requiring Python, and then after struggling with it a little bit, we just let's get rid of this library and use another one because I don't want to handle this. And then just removing that package, it was just Meteor installed, Meteor npm installed, and that's it. The project was ready. So that's really cool because there are projects that we spend just to set up one project a few hours, and that's very painful.
Yeah, my history with setting up projects for the first time on my machine are not that good because in the past I used to work with Java and sometimes .NET and configuring environment and database and everything else can be a painful experience. So yeah, it was really, really quick. It was really impressive, we could say. Related to Meteor Files, the product, what was or what is being the hardest part of developing it? Maybe it's not on the tech side, maybe it's on the business side, I don't know, but talk a bit more for us about the challenges building a product like this.
I would just speak about the key feature, to resume the upload after it was broken. Turns out there is, of course, a lot of projects who tried or who has this feature. I always like to mention that the YouTube removed this feature around a year ago. So in YouTube, you can't resume your video upload if it was broken. And I think I know why, because it is really tricky. While it sounds easy to understand what the particular part of the file was broken during the delivery, it sounds much tricky. In fact, it is much trickier than it sounds. We build a pretty complex logic to understand if the piece of the file, which was in process of delivery, delivered in full piece or not. And I think from what we've seen and tried, there is also open source projects which tend to address this issue to introduce resumable uploads, but none of them are like in a stable, version, because it is still tricky to accomplish this thing, which might look and sound easy at the beginning, which it was my first impression as well. I'm like, I know a lot of about the uploads, and I thought I knew how to solve this part, but then it took for another month to just accomplish it under various conditions. We've been doing testing heavily in different networks, devices. And it turns out not all of the devices and browsers follow the specs in the same way. So that was the most tricky thing to understand, if the file was corrupted or not.
Going back to Meteor.js, still today, would you recommend Meteor.js to other developers? And if yes, why?
Yeah, I would recommend definitely to newcomers and already developers who are established in the industry in the first place, because you can streamline your day-to-day work with the building tool in the first place. It's easy to integrate any other additional building tools if you need, or implement your new ones, for example, as well, which is, I found as a developer as well, much easier than within other building tools.
And can you tell us a bit more about what you'll be working on now, and maybe invite other developers and people that are watching, listening to us right now to contribute to Meteor Files somehow?
All right. Yeah, we've been somewhat actively working on the updating our packages to meet the Meteor 3.0 changes. Most of them was community driven. So if you've been using any of the poster.io space name packages, take a look in your package list. And if there's any, go take a look if there is any RC, beta, or alpha pre-releases available. Test them well. If they're not working well, please report. Since we have a lot of packages to manage, I think it will take until the end of the year to update all of them to match the new needs of the Meteor 3.0. But bringing the attention to some of the specific packages and issues will just change the order and priority on our end. on how we contribute to our packages this autumn and the beginning of the winter. Also, on the business side, we've been working on the Meteor Files as a product, and we've been actively working on the Oster.io as well. This year, we're preparing to release a new updated version, since the pre-rendering is the most demanded feature there, since the number of the websites in the internet built on the modern technologies are growing rapidly. Most of them needs to be visible for the search engines and social networks and messengers. So in that sense, we're growing quickly with this trend. So those two things are hot right now at our end.
Yeah, you kind of mentioned a few things already, but talking about the future specifically, what are the plans, like what's next for ValueV Group?
This year we want to finish all the phases we've been planning for the Meteor Files. So by the end of the year, we want to have it accessible for the developers so they can integrate resumable uploads with this. Then we're working on the updates of the Oster.io. We're going to improve all the services we have, make it more robust, move to the new data center. I'm happy to see new users there. And then again, because of the Meteor 3.0, I'm going to update all of our packages, make sure it works well, probably update the test suites since we many years ahead now with the technology. So we're going to touch those points as well.
Okay, so thank you very much, Dmitry, for your time and for talking to us today. All the links to Meteor Files, the lib, your product are going to be in the description or whatever we put this.